Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. Introduction. Imagine this. A young, ambitious salesperson, fresh out of training and full of new ideas, walks into his boss's office. He's confident, maybe a little cocky. He declares that the old ways of selling are dead. The telephone? A relic of the past. Cold calling? An ancient, ineffective art. He's discovered a new path, a smarter way: social selling. He's going to use LinkedIn, build connections, share content, and let the customers come to him. His boss, a seasoned veteran who has built his entire career in the trenches, just listens. Then, he makes a simple proposal. A challenge. For 1 week, the young rep can use his new school strategy. The boss, in the meantime, will go old school. He'll pick up the phone and interrupt people's days. At the end of day 1, the young salesperson is beaming. He's had 7 new people accept his connection requests online. He feels productive. He's building his network. His boss asks a simple question. Awesome. How much did you sell? The young man scoffs. You don't understand, he says. This takes time. The boss looks down at his own call sheet. In just a few hours, he'd dialed 73 numbers, spoken to 19 people, and closed 2 deals. Real sales. With credit cards collected and money in the bank. They repeated this for 4 more days. By the end of the week, the boss had closed 17 new accounts. The young rep? He had a lot of new online connections, a long list of likes and comments, and 0 sales. That boss was Jeb Blount, and that simple, powerful lesson is the heart of his game-changing book, Fanatical Prospecting. This isn't just another sales book. It's a brutally honest, no-excuses guide to the one activity that separates the top 1% of salespeople from everyone else. It's a book that has become a Bible for sales teams around the world, because it doesn't sell a magic trick, it reveals a fundamental truth about what it takes to win. Jeb Blount is not a theorist. He's a practitioner who built his multi-million-dollar companies from the ground up, with a phone in his hand. He knows the gut-wrenching fear of making that first call and the soul-crushing weight of an empty pipeline. Today, we're going to distill his life's work. And I promise you, by the end of our time together, you will understand the real secret to sustained success in any field. It's not about finding a shortcut. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need one. Book summary. In every company, in every industry, there exists a special group of people. We call them the superstars. They're the top 20% who bring in 80% of the sales. They win the awards, the trips, the big commission checks. They seem to operate on a different level. And for years, companies have spent billions trying to figure out their secret. Is it talent? Charisma? A special kind of intelligence? Jeb Blount argues it's none of those things. The real secret is brutally simple. So simple, in fact, that it's almost invisible. The one thing that separates the superstars from everyone else is this: they are relentless, obsessive, fanatical prospectors. Prospecting is the act of identifying and initiating conversations with potential new customers. And superstars are obsessed with it. They don't wait for leads to come to them. They don't wait for marketing to fill their calendar. They take complete personal responsibility for keeping their pipeline full. They prospect anywhere, anytime. On the phone, through email, at networking events, even in line at the coffee shop. Their mantra is simple: one more call. They do it when times are good, because they know a downturn is always around the corner. They do it when times are bad, because they know it's the only way to survive. They do it even when they don't feel like it. This is the hard truth that most people don't want to hear. The number one reason for failure in sales is an empty pipeline. And the number one cause of an empty pipeline is a failure to prospect. We live in a world that's constantly searching for the easy button. We're marketed promises of getting rich without effort, losing weight without sacrifice. But in sales, and in life, there is no easy button. Jeb is clear on this: you are owed nothing. You have to get up and make things happen for yourself. The first step toward becoming a fanatical prospector is to abandon the delusion that it can be made easy. Prospecting is hard. It's emotionally draining. It's dense with rejection. It sucks. And the moment you accept that, the moment you stop wishing for it to be easier and start working to become better, is the moment everything changes. This journey begins not with a technique, but with a mindset. Jeb has spent a lifetime studying these top performers, and he found they all share 7 core mindsets. Think of these as the foundation upon which all success is built. First, they are optimistic and enthusiastic. They see each day as a new opportunity, not a chore. They attack the day with energy, brushing past the complainers and the naysayers. Second, they are fiercely competitive. They see prospecting as a battle for a prospect's attention, and they are hardwired to win. They prepare each day to outwit and out-hustle their competition. Third, they are confident. They expect to win. They've developed the mental toughness to manage the fear and doubt that paralyzes others. This confidence is what persuades a prospect to give them their most valuable asset, their time. Fourth, they are relentless. They have a deep-seated need to achieve, and they simply do not give up. They see rejection not as a stop sign, but as fuel. They believe their next yes is just around the corner. Fifth, they are thirsty for knowledge. They are constantly learning, consuming books, podcasts, and training. They see every setback not as a failure, but as an opportunity to learn and grow. Sixth, they are systematic and efficient. They operate with near-robotic efficiency. They understand the value of time and structure their day to maximize it, tuning out all distractions. And finally, they are adaptive and flexible. They are constantly trying new things, adopting new technologies, and flexing with the world around them, doing whatever it takes to keep their pipeline full. Once this mindset is in place, you must understand the immutable laws that govern the world of sales. These are like the laws of physics. You can ignore them, but you can't escape their consequences. The first is what Jeb calls the 30-day rule. It's a simple, yet powerful principle. The prospecting you do in this 30-day period will pay off for the next 90 days. Think about that. If you miss a single day of prospecting, you won't feel the pain today. You'll feel it sometime in the next 3 months. If you miss a whole week, maybe you're busy with paperwork or traveling, you will see it in your commission check. And if you take a whole month off, like many people do around the holidays in December, you will wake up in March to a bone-dry pipeline, wondering what went wrong. You'll think you have a closing problem, but in reality, you have a prospecting problem that started 90 days earlier. This leads directly to the second law, the universal law of need. This law governs desperation. It states that the more you need something, the less likely you are to get it. When your pipeline is empty and all your hopes are pinned on 1 or 2 deals, you start to reek of desperation. Your tone changes. Your body language shifts. Prospects can sense it, and they are repelled by it. They are drawn to confident salespeople, not needy ones. Desperation makes you emotional, illogical, and weak. You start giving away discounts you shouldn't, and you make poor decisions that only dig your hole deeper. The only way to escape the universal law of need is to obey the third law, the law of replacement. Here's a simple math problem. If you have 30 prospects in your pipeline, and your closing average is 10%, what happens when you close 1 deal? Most people would say you have 29 prospects left. The real answer is you have 20. Why? Because if your average is 1 out of 10, closing that one deal means the other 9 were not viable. To keep your pipeline healthy, you don't just need to replace the one you closed, you need to replace all 10 prospects that were part of that statistical group. Failure to understand this is what traps salespeople on a miserable roller coaster of performance. They prospect hard, fill the pipe, and then stop prospecting to focus on closing deals. For a month or two, they're heroes. But because they weren't replacing the opportunities that were falling out, they inevitably hit a slump. The anatomy of a sales slump is almost always the same: you stopped prospecting. So what's the cure? When you find yourself in a hole, the first rule is to stop digging. And when you find yourself in a sales slump, the first rule is to start prospecting. It's the only way out. You have to get back up to the plate and start swinging. This brings us to a fundamental question many people ask: with all the new technology, is cold calling dead? Jeb's answer is a resounding no. But he reframes the entire debate. He says the argument isn't really about whether a call is cold, warm, or hot. The real issue, the one that makes salespeople so uncomfortable, has always been about one thing: the willingness to interrupt. Whether you're picking up the phone, sending an email, or pinging someone on LinkedIn, if they aren't expecting to hear from you, you're interrupting their day. It's this act of interruption that causes fear. You can't control the other person's response, and that unknown makes us feel vulnerable. Their initial reaction often feels like rejection, and as social creatures, we are wired to avoid that feeling at all costs. This is why so many salespeople hide behind their computers, waiting for inbound leads to magically appear. But the biggest and most lucrative prospects rarely respond to passive marketing. Their accounts are so valuable that there's a line of salespeople knocking on their door. The only way to start a conversation with them is to interrupt them. So the question is not to cold call or not to cold call. The real question is how to strategically balance your interruptions across all the available channels to give yourself a competitive edge. Jeb argues that relying on a single prospecting method is like putting your entire retirement savings into a single stock. It's stupid. The very best salespeople use a balanced prospecting methodology. They use a mix of telephone, in-person visits, email, social selling, text messaging, networking, and referrals. The right mix depends on your industry, your product, and your territory. If you're a 20-year veteran with a deep network, your mix will look different from a rookie who is brand new to a territory. That rookie has to be prepared to hit the phones hard or knock on a lot of doors to build their database from scratch. To do this effectively, you need a system. This is where Jeb introduces the prospecting pyramid. Imagine a pyramid. At the very wide bottom are the thousands of potential prospects you know very little about. As you move up the pyramid, the information gets better. You have contact names, email addresses, and maybe some data on their buying cycles. Higher still, you have fully qualified prospects where you've identified the buying window. Near the top, you have hot inbound leads and referrals. And at the very tip of the pyramid are the most valuable prospects of all, highly qualified opportunities who are moving into the buying window right now. Struggling salespeople treat their database like a square. Every prospect is the same, so they call randomly. This is incredibly inefficient. Top performers, however, view their database as this pyramid. They organize their day to attack the pyramid from the top down. They spend their golden hours, their prime selling time, focused on the prospects at the tip of the pyramid, the ones with the highest probability of closing. This gives them early wins, which builds confidence and motivation. Then, they work their way down, gathering information and qualifying prospects to move them up the pyramid for the future. This entire system lives and dies by one tool, a tool that most salespeople hate: the CRM, or Customer Relationship Management Software. Jeb calls the CRM the most important sales tool you have. Your database of prospects isn't just a list, It's a golden goose that will keep on giving for your entire career, but only if you treat it like a gold mine instead of a trash can. This means being disciplined, taking detailed notes after every interaction, updating records, logging your calls. Fanatical prospectors own their database like a CEO owns their company, because they understand that powerful lists get powerful results. Now, as you start reaching out, you need to leverage another powerful law, the law of familiarity. The more familiar a prospect is with you, your brand, and your company, the more likely they are to take your call, open your email, or agree to a meeting. Familiarity is like a lubricant for prospecting. It reduces the perceived risk for the prospect. How do you build familiarity? First, through persistent and consistent prospecting. Every time you call, leave a voicemail, or send an email, you're creating a small touch point. They see or hear your name, and you become a little more familiar. Second, and most powerfully, through referrals and introductions. A referral from a trusted source gives you instant credibility. You get to ride on the coattails of an existing relationship. Third, through networking. Not just collecting business cards, but creating genuine connections by being interested in other people. Fourth, through your company and brand. If you work for a well-known company, you have a huge head start. If you work for a startup, you have to be part of building that brand awareness. And fifth, through your personal brand. This is about making a direct investment in your own reputation as an expert who solves problems. Now we get to the heart of the interaction, the message. What do you actually say when you get someone on the phone or write them an email? Jeb stresses that your message has to be quick, simple, direct, and, most importantly, relevant. Prospects will give you their time for their reasons, not yours. You have to answer the most important question on their mind: what's in it for me, or we them? This isn't about pitching your product's features. Nobody wants to be pitched. It's about connecting to their problems, their frustrations, their goals. Jeb says the secret is to use the power of the word because. A famous study showed that people are far more likely to agree to a request if you simply give them a reason, any reason. The word because is a trigger for compliance. Your job is to build a bridge to your because. This bridge connects their problem to your solution. For example, instead of saying, "I'd like to tell you about my software," you might say, "The reason I'm calling is because many VPs of sales I work with are frustrated with how long it takes to get new hires productive. I've got a few ideas that have helped them cut that time in half, and I thought you might be interested in hearing them." Notice the emotional words. Frustrated. People make decisions based on emotion and then justify with logic. Your message must connect emotionally. Once you've delivered your message, you have to do the most important, and often the hardest, part. Ask for what you want. Ask for the appointment. Ask for the information. Ask for the sale. And then, you must do something even harder. Shut up. That moment of silence after you ask is where most salespeople crumble. They get nervous and start talking, trying to overcome objections that haven't even been raised yet. They literally talk themselves out of the yes. You have to ask with confidence, assume you'll get what you want, and then be quiet and let them respond. And when they do respond, it will often be with what Jeb calls an RBO, a reflex response, brush off, or objection. A reflex response is something like "I'm not interested." They say it automatically, without thinking. A brush off is a polite way of saying "go away," like "just send me some information." An objection is a more logical reason, like "we just signed a new contract with your competitor." Most salespeople try to overcome these objections. They argue. They debate. And they almost always lose, because you can't argue someone into believing they are wrong. Jeb teaches a different approach. Instead of overcoming, you must disrupt. He offers a simple 3-step framework for turning around RBOs: anchor, disrupt, ask. Let's say a prospect tells you, "I'm too busy." Your anchor is your first, immediate response. It's designed to stop your own emotional panic and buy your logical brain a split second to catch up. A great anchor is to simply agree with them. That's exactly why I called. Now, you disrupt. You say something that breaks their expected pattern. They expect you to argue. Instead, you say, "I figured you would be, which is why I want to find a time that's more convenient for you." This is verbal judo. You're not pushing against them, you're pulling them toward you. Finally, you ask again, confidently and specifically. "How about we schedule a short call for next Wednesday at 3 p.m. instead?" This framework, anchor, disrupt, ask, is a repeatable script you can practice for every common RBO you hear. Having a plan is what gives you the confidence to stay in the conversation when most others would give up. This brings us to the ultimate principle, the driving force behind all of this. It's about developing mental toughness, or what some call grit. Sales is a tough, grueling profession. You will face more rejection before 9 a.m. than most people experience in a year. The superstars, the champions, are not the ones who are immune to this pain. They are the ones who have developed the mental resilience to get back up when they get knocked down. This mental toughness is built on 4 pillars. First, a burning desire. You must know what you want and how bad you want it. Your goals are the fuel that will drive you through the hard times. Second, mental resilience, which comes from constantly learning and sharpening your saw. When you outlearn your competition, you will out-earn them. Third, physical resilience. Your mental energy is directly tied to your physical state. This means getting enough exercise, sleep, and proper nutrition. And fourth, you must constantly feed your attitude. Your beliefs determine your reality. Expect to win. Believe that every setback is a lesson. And cultivate gratitude. In the end, it all comes down to a simple choice. A choice that Jeb Blount distilled into 11 words that changed his life, words he taped to the wall above his desk. When it is time to go home, make one more call. This is the essence of a fanatical prospector. It's the discipline to push just a little bit further when everyone else has already quit. It's in that one more call where the magic happens, where luck is created, where championships are won. The book ends with a powerful story. Jeb's son plays for a small-town high school football team. They were the underdogs, facing a much bigger, stronger, and better-funded rival they hadn't beaten in 6 years. From the sidelines, the coach didn't scream plays. He screamed one question, over and over again: "How bad do you want it?" That question hung in the air on the final play of the game, with 5 seconds on the clock, as their opponent threw a pass into the end zone for the winning touchdown. Improbably, their defender, outsized but not outmatched, reached up and tipped the ball away. They won. They won because they had been prepared, they had worked harder, and in that final moment, they simply wanted it more. And that, Jeb says, is the only question that really matters. When you're facing your challenges, when you're tired and beat down, when you have the choice to give up or make one more call, it all comes down to one thing: how bad do you want it? Commentary. As we wrap up our journey through fanatical prospecting, I want to take a moment to reflect on why this book has had such a profound impact on so many people, far beyond the world of sales. At its core, this isn't just a book about how to sell. It's a book about personal responsibility. It's a guide to taking ownership of your own success. The principles Jeb Blount lays out, the relentless focus on activity, the mental toughness, the discipline to do the hard work first, these are universal truths that apply to anyone who wants to achieve something meaningful, whether you're building a business, learning a new skill, or even getting in shape. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the idea that we have control over so few things in life. We can't control the economy, we can't control our competitors, and we certainly can't control how a prospect will react when we interrupt their day. But, as Jeb reminds us, there are 3 things we can always control: our actions, our reactions, and our mindset. This is an incredibly empowering philosophy. It frees us from the victim mentality that plagues so many. It forces us to look in the mirror and acknowledge that our success or failure rests squarely on our own shoulders. The empty pipeline isn't the company's fault or the market's fault, it's the direct result of the actions we failed to take 30, 60, or 90 days ago. The concept of the 30-day rule is a game changer. It teaches us that success is a lagging indicator of our consistent efforts. The seeds we plant today by making those calls, sending those emails, and doing the uncomfortable work may not sprout immediately. But they will grow. And if we stop planting, we will inevitably face a harvest of nothing. This is a powerful metaphor for life. The daily, unglamorous grind is what pays for future glory. If you're looking to apply these ideas right now, here are 3 simple, practical actions you can take today, inspired by the book. First, identify your golden hours for tomorrow. These are the 1 or 2 hours of your day where you will do your most important, high-value work. For a salesperson, it's prospecting. For you, it might be studying, coding, writing, or practicing. Schedule this time on your calendar like it's the most important meeting of your day. Protect it fiercely. Let nothing and no one interfere. Second, adopt the one more call mantra. At the very end of your workday or study session, when you're tired and ready to quit, push yourself to do just one more thing. Read one more chapter. Write one more paragraph. Send one more email. This small act of discipline builds the muscle of mental toughness and often leads to surprising breakthroughs. Third, prepare for rejection. Think about the most common no you face in your life, whether it's asking for something, presenting an idea, or facing a challenge. Instead of fearing it, plan for it. Practice a simple anchor: disrupt, ask response. By having a plan, you take the emotional sting out of rejection and turn it into a strategic conversation. That was a deep dive into Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. We've covered the core philosophies and frameworks today, but honestly, a summary is like looking at a picture of a magnificent feast. You can see the dishes, you can appreciate the presentation, but you can't taste the food. The real power of this book lies in the stories, the specific scripts, and the relentless, motivating energy that jumps off every page. This summary is your map, but the treasure is found by taking the journey yourself. If any of the ideas we've discussed today spark something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning techniques, it's about absorbing a mindset that can fundamentally change how you approach your goals in your life. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you something to think about, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.